In tonight's story, we climb higher than we should. A rescue team ascends into the Himalayas after a sudden radio blackout. But what they find waiting in the snow isn't emptiness. Every reflective surface, every patch of ice, every lens, every piece of metal holds a face pressed against it, frozen mid-scream. As the team searches for answers, the mountain listens, and one by one, it takes them. This is White Silence, a 5-part sleep horror story, a tale about isolation, memory, and the thin line between rescue and surrender. If you enjoy dark, atmospheric sleep stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new descent into the dark. Now, take a breath, close your eyes, and listen. The mountain is calling. The helicopter turned back an hour before sunset, swallowed by snow and distance. After that, there was only the crunch of crampons, the hiss of oxygen valves, and the wind dragging its pale sleeve across the slope. We moved in pairs, tethered by rope and ritual. 30 steps, check Cole's colour. 30 more, check my fingers. The mountain demanded quiet arithmetic to stay alive. 2 minutes, Harker said through the headset. He didn't stop walking. He rarely did. Below us, the missing climbers' camp lay neat and untouched. 3 orange tents pressed low under snow, prayer flags frozen stiff. Even from here, it looked wrong. Too orderly, too still. "Tea smoke," Tenzin murmured. "Do you smell it?" I did, faintly, bitter and sweet, like black tea left too long. The air that drifted from the tents was warmer than the wind. "My name's Maya, expedition medic. My job is to stay calm when scent starts to break under altitude." We spread out across the shelf, careful not to trample footprints. Inside the first tent, Lena whispered, "Sleeping bags unzipped, stove still warm." "Recent," I said, touching the metal. It burned through my glove. Cole leaned in beside me. "Minutes recent," he said, "not hours." The second tent was the same. Warm gear, organised packs, cameras with fresh batteries. Everything waiting for owners who had simply vanished. "Any sign?" Harker asked. "None," Tenzin replied softly. "Only that they left to go somewhere they did not plan." Lena called from the third tent. "You should see this." She was standing over a pair of glacier goggles hanging from a hook, frost ferns feathered across the black lenses. At first, I thought that was it, the strange beauty of ice growth. Then the light shifted and I saw it, a face, not reflected, inside the lens, pressed against the plastic lips stretched, eyes sealed in a silent scream. "It's ice," Cole said too quickly. "Pareidolia, faces in clouds." But Lena's voice cracked. Thomas Bork, the missing team's leader. I wiped a crescent of frost away with my glove. The face didn't vanish. It clarified. I could almost feel warmth beneath the lens, the phantom heat of skin. "Don't touch," Harker warned. But I already had, and it was like touching memory, something once alive, now fossilized in blackness. We found more. Faces half-formed in the steel lid of the cook kit, in the clear ice blocks that ringed the camp, like people trapped mid-breath, a frozen gallery of distorted expressions. Cole's voice trembled. "This is just patterns. Cold flexing the plastic, right?" Harker's tone cut clean. "Log it. No theories." He turned toward the slope. "We bivouac here. Whatever happened, it was recent." The radio crackled. "Bravo 3 base. Copy unusual formations." The words came thin and cautious. "Weather deteriorating, 2 hours before whiteout." "We stay," Harker decided. "If they left this camp warm, they're close." We built our tents among theirs, doubling the arrangement as if symmetry could protect us. Inside, the air was thick with the metallic scent of butane and melted snow. I brewed broth, trying not to listen to the way the wind hissed against the nylon. Lena was outside, speaking steadily into her body cam, her voice too calm, like a nurse reciting vitals to avoid panic. Then the radio clicked. "Maya." My name, not my call sign. The voice was close, almost whispered in my ear. "Bravo 3, say again," I asked. "Repeat last." Static. Then, "Don't," the word dissolved. I poked my head out. Cole's headlamp glowed from his tent. He lifted his shoulders in a shrug. No transmission. When I turned back, the tent's silver liner caught my light. It rippled, reflecting 2 distorted faces, my own and another man's. Older, hollow-eyed, mouth wide open. He looked like Thomas Bork. The fabric shivered. I reached out before thinking and touched something curved beneath it. A cheek. The idea of a cheek. I yanked back, heart hammering. Outside, footsteps brushed snow. A low murmur, Tenzin praying. Cole cursed softly, his breath ragged in the radio. Later we gathered in Harker's tent. His lamp threw tight light across a map no one was really reading. In the morning we sweep east to the cornice. They couldn't have gone far, he said. His voice sounded rehearsed. Lena and Cole, lower traverse. Maya, stay central. Keep line of sight. Cole nodded absently. He lifted Harker's steel mug from the snow and tilted it toward the light. For a second the brushed metal turned liquid, showing 3 blurred reflections, ours. Then the light shifted, and a fourth appeared beneath them, faint but perfect. The same face, pressed mouth, closed eyes. Only now it had a thin cut over the left brow, the exact cut I'd bandaged on Cole yesterday. Cole's hand trembled. "Tell me you see that," he whispered. I opened my mouth, ready to say altitude, tricks of reflection, when the radio on the ground came to life again. "Maya," said my own voice, too exact, too close. Then, "Don't look." The lamp flickered. The mug rolled, spinning once before coming to rest, showing us all our faces stretched and screaming in its shine. The storm came quiet, a whisper first, then swallowed everything. The ridge vanished. The tents became islands in a white, churning void. We doubled our anchors and ran a safety cord between tents. Every motion felt like underwater work. Slow, deliberate, muffled by the cold. Breath froze on zippers. My fingers burned, then numbed. "Check each other," I told the team. "Cheeks, fingers, ears." Cole held his hands out. His nails were white-edged, but pink returned when I pressed. The cut over his left brow, one I'd cleaned and closed yesterday, had frozen into a red comma of blood. He grinned through frost. "Still handsome?" "You were never my type," I said, and for a moment we could almost laugh. Lena circled the camp with her camera, narrating under her breath. "Wind northeast, sustained 30, tents intact." Her voice steadied her more than any rope. Tenzin tightened the safety cord, gloved fingers slow and sure. He paused at the prayer flags, frozen stiff as bones, and whispered something too soft for the wind to steal. A prayer, maybe. "Inside," Harker ordered. "We ride it out." We zipped into our nylon cocoons. The storm pressed hard, like hands on all sides. I lit my stove and warmed weak tea. Outside, snow hissed like static on an untuned frequency. For a while I listened only to the pulse of my breath and the small comforting rattle of boiling water. Then the radio in my tent clicked. "Maya," a voice whispered. "My name. Close. Inside the tent. Close." "Bravo 3, say again," I said, forcing calm. Static. "Don't." A burst of wind finished the sentence for it. I unzipped the flap, half expecting a face in the white. Only snow. Cole's headlamp glowed faintly across the safety cord. He shrugged. No signal, no call. When I turned, the silver liner of my tent caught my light. 2 shapes stared back. My reflection and another face beside it, older, mouth open too wide. Thomas Bork. The fabric shifted with the wind, and the image tore apart. The radio clicked again, this time on team channel. "Bravo 3 base," a voice said. "Confirm count." Harker answered 5. Pause. Then, "Copy 5." That pause was too long, too uncertain. By nightfall, the storm had eaten sound. We huddled in separate tents, tethered by radio check-ins every 30 minutes. Between gusts, you could swear someone stood outside the fabric, breathing deliberately. Lena's voice came faintly through the static. Recording, frost forming on interior, crystals spreading in geometric lines, almost like... The transmission cut off, replaced by the hiss of wind. "Lena, say again," I called. Nothing. Then the sharp tang of metal outside, a carabiner unclipping. I grabbed my lamp and crawled out. Visibility was 2 meters at best. White churned around the tents. "Lena?" I shouted. Only the rope line answered, tugging faintly in the wind. I followed the cord to her tent. Empty. Sleeping bag half unzipped. Camera missing. "Her boots, Harker," I said through the radio, forcing the words past cold, stiff lips. "Lena's tent's empty." Static. Then his voice, low and flat. "Hold position. I'm coming." Tenzin answered next. "I saw movement, east side near the wall." "Cole, I'll sweep the cord." "Negative," Harker snapped. "No one off the line." But the line was already trembling. Snow lashed sideways. My lamp flicked through the blur and caught footprints, half filled, already fading. They led from her tent to the ice wall behind the camp and stopped there. The last print was a toe press, like she'd stepped forward, and kept going. A whisper filled my radio. Time stamp, visibility 2 meters, reflective surfaces forming faces, they resemble us. Lena's voice, calm and clinical, but not live. It had that hollow, recorded distance. "Lena, if you can hear me, answer." Silence. Then, "Don't look." My heart seized. The voice wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. Harker reached me, rope taut, lamp steady. "She's not here?" "Only this." I pointed at the ice wall. The glaze had thickened since daylight. It wasn't flat anymore, smooth, yes, but warped inward like something inside the ice had pressed forward. I lifted my lamp. Faces bloomed in the reflection, first vague, then painfully clear. Cole, Tenzin, Harker, me. Our features, distorted by pressure, lips stretched, eyes sealed. Harker exhaled. Optical illusion. Light scatter. Then why? Cole started, but the wind cut him off. Lena's voice returned through static. More appearing, faces forming deeper. Parallax effect when viewed from angle. I can almost see. The transmission broke into white noise. Cole's voice rose. "That's live, isn't it? That's her?" "She's near," Tenzin said. "Or something is." We followed the sound until it ended at a fissure in the ice wall. Harker leaned close but didn't touch. "Surface thickness, maybe 10 millimeters," he said, voice measured. "Bubbles aligned, some anthropomorphic distortion." His words felt hollow against what we saw. Lena's face, not pressed like the others, but emerging, as if rising through water. Her eyes were open. Her pupils caught our light. "Maya," came the radio, in my own cadence again. "Don't look." I looked anyway. In the buckle of the safety cord by my glove, a reflection had formed, our 4 figures huddled together. But the reflection showed something wrong. The cord in the image hung loose, slack between us. I grabbed it instinctively. The line in my hand slackened. "Hold!" Harker barked. We pulled together. The cord jumped once, then fell limp. At the end, where Lena's carabiner should have clipped, the gate was frozen open, the metal crusted with white. No tension, no resistance. "She unclipped?" Cole's voice cracked. "Why would she?" "She didn't," I said. My voice sounded small against the storm. It froze open. No one spoke. Only the hiss of snow and the tap of loose gear against tent poles. Harker coiled the slack line and forced calm into his tone. "We wait for light. No one moves until visibility returns. Understood?" We nodded. Obedience was easier than belief. Back in my tent, I shut out the storm, but the wind still found its rhythm against the nylon, a steady human breathing. The radio clicked again, Lena's voice replaying the same words over and over. "Timestamp, visibility 1 meter, faces resemble us." The repetition became background noise, like a heart monitor. I stared into the pot of water heating on the stove. The brushed steel reflected 4 distorted faces, mine, Cole's, Harker's, Tenzin's. Behind them, a 5th hovered just beyond the light's edge, smiling faintly. The radio whispered so close it felt like breath. "Don't look." I looked anyway, and saw my own face staring back, eyes closed, mouth open, frost collecting at the corners. Then the wind hit the tent, and everything went white again. When dawn came, no one trusted it. Light seeped through the tents like diluted milk, flattening colour and shadow. The storm had passed, leaving behind a silence that felt staged, too still, too deliberate. The ropes between tents hung heavy with frost, stiff as bone. I crawled out, blinking through the glare. The world had turned to glass. Every surface shimmered. Even the snow looked polished, as if something had licked it smooth overnight. Tenzin was already outside, kneeling by the safety line. His breath puffed tiny ghosts into the cold. He didn't look up when he said, "One is missing." I followed his gaze. Lena's tent stood half-collapsed, rope slack, zipper frozen halfway. Inside, her bag, camera, and spare gloves sat neatly arranged, as though she had planned to come back. "Any prints?" I asked. He shook his head. The storm erased all things but what it wanted to keep. Cole emerged next, his face sallow, eyes red. "Base isn't answering," he said, tapping the dead radio. "Battery's fine, it's just nothing." Harker zipped his parka and stood for a long time, staring east toward the ridge. His beard was white with frost. He looked less like a leader and more like something the mountain had carved and left standing. "We sweep," he said finally. "Half-mile radius. Standard grid. We find her or sign of her." "Shouldn't we wait for base?" I asked. He didn't look at me. "Base isn't coming." We divided gear and clipped into the safety cord, 5 lengths of rope with 4 people left. The empty space where Lena should have been felt too heavy for the wind to move. The air was knife cold, sharp enough to hum in your teeth. The only sound was the creak of frozen fabric and our breathing, syncopated through masks. The camp shrank behind us until it looked like a memory half buried in snow. We found the ice wall first. Overnight, the frost had thickened into a dull sheen. The faces inside were clearer. Too clear. Lena's was no longer rising. It was there, frozen mid-breath. Her lips looked wet, though the temperature said that was impossible. Cole stopped 3 meters away, lamp trembling in his glove. "That's her," he whispered. Jesus, she's there." "Don't touch it," I said. My voice sounded smaller than the wind. I wasn't going to. His breath fogged his mask. She looks like she's breathing." She did. The light made a subtle pulse across her cheeks, like a trick of melt and refreeze, but it followed the rhythm of breath. Slow, even, alive. "Optical," Harker said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Air pockets under glaze." He turned to me. "Maya, photograph it. Then we move." I pulled out the camera Lena had left behind. The lens fogged instantly, as if it too didn't want to look. I wiped it clear and pressed the shutter. The screen flashed, then froze. The image glitched, lines of static across Lena's face. The more I tried, the worse it got. Each photo came back warped, blurred, like the camera couldn't decide where the subject ended. Tenzin murmured, "Spirits of the mountain keep what they take." Harker snapped, "Enough." But his eyes stayed fixed on the ice, on the reflection of his own face in the glaze, flattened, half swallowed. For a heartbeat, it looked like the ice was sucking him in by degrees. He blinked and stepped back, muttering, "We move." We followed the slope east. The storm had sculpted strange shapes, ridges and hollows that looked like sleeping bodies under blankets. More than once I thought I saw someone kneeling in the distance, only for it to melt back into white. "Tracks," Cole called suddenly. He pointed to a faint depression zigzagging down slope. Not boot prints, but drag marks, like something heavy had been pulled. We followed, hearts quickening. The marks led to a shallow basin, half-sheltered from the wind. Inside was a small pile of gear, a torn strap, a single glove, and a camera battery pack. Lena's, but no Lena. I knelt beside it. The glove was stiff, ice crystallized inside like veins. "This wasn't here yesterday," I said. "She might have tried to climb out," Harker offered, scanning the horizon. "Could have frozen, fallen through a cornice." Tenzin crouched and touched the glove, or she walked into the white and became part of it. Cole exhaled sharply. Enough with that. We stood there too long, the wind shifted, and the hollow seemed to breathe around us. I swear I heard something underneath, the faintest murmur, like water moving or voices sealed behind glass. "Maya." The whisper wasn't wind. We froze. It had come from Harker's radio, clipped to his shoulder. "Maya, it's Lena. I'm here." Her voice, calm, thin as thread. Harker's hand hovered near the mic. "Lena, this is Harker. Say location." "Static, then. I'm at camp." A pause. "Come back." We turned toward the ridge. The camp was 1/2 kilometre behind, invisible in the glare. Cole said what we were all thinking. She can't be there. Tenzin crossed himself. Unless she never left. Harker's eyes narrowed. "We're going back." We retraced the safety line in silence, breath fogging, rope trembling faintly between us. My pulse kept time with the crunch of crampons. The closer we got, the more the light changed, warmer somehow, though the air was colder. When we crested the ridge, the camp was exactly as we'd left it. No tracks, no movement. But from inside one of the tents, faint yellow light pulsed, steady as a heartbeat. Harker drew his knife, not because it would help, but because it made sense to hold something real. He motioned us forward. The light came from Lena's tent. Through the frost-hazed nylon, we saw her silhouette, cross-legged, still, as if meditating. Her head was bowed. "Lena?" I called. No reply. Harker crouched, hand trembling only slightly, and unzipped the flap. The sound felt too loud in the stillness. The tent was empty. The light came from her camera, propped upright. The screen glowed with a looping video, Lena's own footage from the night before. In it she sat where we now stood, speaking into the lens. Timestamp, wind northeast, faces appearing. The background behind her was the same tent, the same light. Then she looked up, straight into the camera, and whispered, "Don't look behind you." The recording froze. Cole turned instinctively. Behind him, the steel cooking pot lay half buried in snow. The reflection on its surface was warped by frost, but clear enough to see 4 figures standing around the tent, ours, and one more behind us. Cole spun, swinging his lamp through the glare. Nothing. Only the snow, the tents, the rope swaying slightly in the wind. "Enough," Harker said. His voice cracked. "Break camp. We descend in 1 hour." He didn't wait for agreement. He turned toward his tent and disappeared inside. The rest of us followed suit, obedience again, because fear makes easy soldiers. Inside my own tent, the air felt close. My breath fogged silver on the liner, turning the walls into mirrors. I pulled the camera from my pocket to review the morning's shots. Every image was wrong, blurred, distorted, faces smeared as if still moving when the shutter closed. On the last photo, I froze. It showed the camp from a distance, the ice wall behind it faint but visible. The faces inside had multiplied, dozens now, layered one behind the other. The frontmost face was mine, eyes open, mouth forming the start of a scream. The radio crackled softly beside me. "Maya," the voice said, "you forgot one." I swallowed hard. "Lena?" "Not any more," it replied. The light outside shifted, shadows passed over the tent, slow, deliberate, too tall to be human. The air pressure changed, the fabric bowing inward. I could hear them breathing through the cold, or maybe it was me. The safety cord outside went taut, pulling once, like something testing its strength. Then it went slack again. Cole's voice came faint through the radio, brittle as static. "Maya, you seeing this?" Before I could answer, a sound cracked through the camp, Harker shouting, short, choked off. Then the wind swallowed everything. I unzipped the tent halfway. Snow whirled in. Harker's tent was dark. Tenzin's light flickered and went out. The safety cord between them quivered, then froze still. Something moved in the reflection of my goggles. Too close, its face pressed flat against the inside of the lens, whispering my name. I ripped them off and looked up just in time to see the ice wall shimmer at the edge of camp. For an instant, I could have sworn there were 5 faces there now. The newest one still forming, the mouth open mid-breath. Mine. By the next morning, the air was thinner and the silence worse. No one spoke as we packed. Harker avoided our eyes. Cole kept glancing toward the ice wall, where 5 faces now gleamed faintly under the frost. The newest, mine, was still soft-edged, like ice that hadn't decided if it would melt or freeze forever. We had agreed to descend. We told ourselves we'd bring evidence back, notify base, regroup, but it felt less like strategy and more like retreat. "Check the anchors," Harker said. His voice was hoarse, roughened by something other than wind. Cole didn't move. "Anchors won't matter if it follows us." I turned. "What follows us?" He gestured to the wall. "You think that's staying here? Those faces? Lena's, yours, mine. They're us. Or they were. Every time we look, there's more detail. It's growing." Tenzin said nothing. He stood apart, palms together, eyes lowered. His calm unnerved me more than Cole's fear. "We leave in 10, Harker said. He pulled his goggles down and started checking gear. I watched the reflection of his breath cloud across the lenses, half expecting to see a face behind it. We started down in silence. The wind had settled, but the mountain was too quiet. Normally, ice creaks, snow settles, the air hums with the faint static of movement. Now it was just the hiss of our oxygen and the soft tap of crampons. The first 2 hours passed without incident. Then Cole's radio hissed. "Maya," it said. My name again. Flat, familiar. He froze mid-step. "Tell me that was you." I shook my head. "Maya, it's Cole." The voice repeated, a perfect copy of his tone. "Check your line." Cole looked down at the safety cord looped through his harness. It was tight, secure. But his hand trembled anyway. "That's not funny," he whispered into his mic. No one laughed. Harker ordered a stop. We huddled together on the narrow ledge, helmets tilted toward one another like conspirators. "Interference," he said. "Signal bounce." Tenzin shook his head. "There is no signal here, only echo." Cole's breathing quickened. "If it's an echo, it's one hell of a precise one." "Maya," the voice said again, but this time from my radio. It was Harker's voice, strained and clipped. "Don't look up." Instinct betrayed me. I looked. Above us, the slope curved into a cornice glazed with fresh ice. For a moment, I thought I saw movement within it, the faint outline of people walking inside the ice, shadows moving parallel to us, pacing our steps. "Maya?" Harker's real voice cut through. Eyes down, now. We kept moving. The wind picked up again, pulling at the safety cord like a living thing. By midday, we reached a small plateau where the snow had drifted deep enough to camp again. Harker ordered a rest. None of us argued. Cole dropped his pack, ripped off his gloves, and rubbed his hands over his face. "I can't feel anything," he muttered. "Not fingers, not my goddamn face." "Frostnip," I said automatically. "You'll feel it again soon." He laughed without humour. "That's the problem. When I checked him, his pulse was fast, uneven. His eyes darted too much. Altitude and fear were merging into something volatile. Tenzin brewed tea over a weak flame. He hummed quietly, some Himalayan tune too old for language. The sound steadied me, but it seemed to agitate Cole. "Stop that," Cole snapped. "Stop humming. It's echoing." Tenzin met his gaze. "I am not humming now." The sound continued, a soft, vibrating hum, coming from the snowpack itself. It was deep, rhythmic, almost like breathing. Then, faintly, a second sound underneath. A woman's voice, distorted by ice. "Come back," Lena's voice. Cole lunged toward the edge of camp. "You hear that? She's alive!" "Cole!" Harker barked, but he didn't stop. He ran toward the ice ridge, fumbling for his axe, the safety cord jerking behind him. I went after him, rope slicing snow between us. "Cole, stop! It's not real!" "She's calling me," he shouted, swinging his lamp toward the ice wall. The light hit, and faces bloomed, dozens now, their mouths open, their eyes black voids. Lena was among them, her lips moving, soundless except for the wind. Behind her face, faint and distorted, another one was forming. Cole's. I reached him just as he raised his axe. "Don't!" I yelled. He brought it down on the ice with a scream. The crack echoed through the ridge like thunder. A fissure spread across the wall, and the surface rippled as though it were soft. The sound beneath changed, a deep groan, followed by a wet sigh. The ground shifted. "Tether!" Harker shouted. "Hold your tether!" Cole slipped as the snow under him sagged. I grabbed the rope, gloves burning with friction. "Hold on." But the rope went slack, too fast, too smooth. I fell back, dragged into the snow. The tension vanished. Cole was gone. The ice wall in front of me sealed itself smooth again, the fissure closing in slow motion. His face appeared there seconds later, eyes wide, mouth open mid-breath, already frosting over. Harker hauled me back. I was shaking too hard to stand. "He's gone," Harker said quietly. "No anger now, only exhaustion." We moved back to camp tonight. Tenzin didn't move. He stared at the new face in the ice, murmuring something in his own tongue. Back at the tents, we set up in silence. The storm hadn't returned, but the wind still spoke in whispers that sounded like names. The ropes trembled even when the air was still. That night I couldn't sleep. The air inside the tent felt heavy, as if shared with someone unseen. The silver liner breathed in and out with the wind. I turned off my lamp, but faint light glowed from somewhere. My radio, it clicked. "Maya," a voice said softly. It sounded like Cole. "You left me there." I swallowed. "You're dead," he said. "Come see." The static rose, blending into the sound of wind. For a moment I thought it was gone. Then quietly, "It's warmer here." I sat frozen, every muscle locked. I wanted to believe it was hypoxia, stress. But outside, footsteps crunched softly in the snow, one pair deliberate, walking past my tent. I grabbed my lamp and unzipped the flap. No one was there. Only the faint glow of Tenzin's tent nearby, and something standing next to it, tall, still. Not a person. The light glinted off its surface like wet glass. I lifted my lamp higher. It was a wall of ice, a new one, freshly formed, waist-thick and curved as if it had grown overnight. Inside it, two shapes, blurred and pale. Tenzin sat cross-legged before it, whispering prayers. His voice didn't shake. "Tenzin," I said, "come away." He didn't look back. "They're not gone," he said. "The mountain remembers. Please, step away." He pressed a hand to the ice. His reflection touched him back. The radio hissed again, filled with overlapping voices, Cole's, Lena's, mine. The words tangled. "Stay, don't look, come back." The light from Tenzin's lamp flickered once, twice. When it steadied, he was gone. Only his rope remained, frozen into the ice. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. My radio buzzed once more, faint but clear. 3 left. Harker's tent flap opened. He looked hollow-eyed, face half frozen. "What happened?" "Tenzin," I said. "He's gone." Harker didn't respond. He stared at the new wall of ice, expression unreadable. "Then it's just us." The wind caught the tents and made them groan. It sounded almost like laughter. We sat in silence, backs to the ice, staring at the sky. The stars burned sharp as needles. Between gusts, I thought I heard faint tapping, metal on metal, from the frozen gear. But when I looked, nothing moved. Hours passed like minutes. At some point, Harker spoke softly, as if to himself. "Maybe it's not taking us. Maybe it's showing us what's left." I turned to him. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer. His goggles hung around his neck, lenses facing outward. For a heartbeat, I saw 2 faces reflected there. His, and another, pressed flat behind the glass. When I blinked, it was gone. He looked at me then, eyes unfocused. "Sleep, Maya. I'll keep watch." But I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The wind howled once more, and when it died, the camp felt smaller. 2 tents now. By morning, the wind had stopped. No snow fell, no sound remained. It was as if the mountain had decided to listen. When I unzipped the tent, sunlight poured over everything like water through glass. The air shimmered with cold so pure it made colours vanish. Harker's tent was still, a mound beneath a crust of frost. I knew before I checked that he wouldn't answer. I walked to him anyway. The zipper resisted, frozen shut. When I finally tore it open, the tent was empty. His pack lay zipped. His boots were gone. Only his goggles remained half buried in snow. The lenses were fogged with breath from the inside. I sank to my knees. Every instinct said to pack up, descend, run until there was no white left in the world. But where would I run to? Every direction was the same. I forced myself to radio base. Bravo 3 to base. Respond, I'm alone. Static. Then faintly, alone. My own voice. I dropped the mic. The ice wall glowed faint blue in the sun. There were 6 faces now. The newest was Harker's, eyes wide, frozen in a kind of awe. His mouth was open just enough to show teeth. I didn't look for long. I packed what I could carry and began descending. The rope line had disappeared under the snow, leaving faint ridges where it had once been. I moved slowly, following memory and instinct. Every step sounded like fabric tearing. 2 hours down, I stopped for water. My canteen was frozen solid. I broke the ice with my knife and sucked the shards until they burned my tongue. That's when I heard it, breathing. Close. I spun, axe ready. Nothing. Only snow and the faint echo of my own heartbeat. Then a voice, faint and warm in my ear. Maya. It was Harker's voice this time, calm, almost kind. Turn around. I froze. You're not real. Maybe, it said, but I'm waiting. I turned. The slope behind me shimmered like glass under sunlight. Beneath it, shadows moved, faint outlines pacing me in the ice. 4 figures, slow, methodical. Their movements matched mine. I took 1 step forward, they followed. I lifted my hand, so did they. One shadow raised something, its arm. My breath stopped. In its hand was a radio. Maya. My voice came from every direction. You forgot the line. I stumbled backward. My crampons slipped on ice. My knee hit the snow hard. The world tilted, sky and earth swapped places. When I looked up, the mountain didn't look like a mountain anymore. It looked like a single unbroken sheet of frozen sky. The radio clicked again. This time it was Lena's voice. Don't fight it. It's easier when you stop looking. I threw the radio as far as I could. It disappeared into the snow with a soft thud and a burst of static. Hours blurred. I kept walking downhill, though the slope seemed endless. Shadows stayed just at the edge of sight. Sometimes there were 4, sometimes 5. Once I counted 6, and one stood closer than the rest. When I stopped for breath, I realized my footprints were gone behind me. Not filled in, gone. The snow lay smooth, like I'd never been there at all. I laughed. The sound cracked the air and didn't come back. Eventually I saw colour, orange, dull against the white. A tent. Ours. I was back at camp. For a long moment I couldn't understand how. Then I noticed the difference. There were now 7 tents, perfectly aligned, all zipped shut. Each one identical. The ice wall loomed higher, faces layered deep within. My lamp beam found mine among them, clear now, complete. The expression wasn't fear anymore. It was peace. The radio on my belt turned itself on. Base to Bravo 3, said a man's voice I didn't recognize. We're approaching the last coordinates. Sit tight. We'll find you. Relief broke something inside me. I keyed the mic. Copy. I'm here. Static drowned me out. Then the same voice, slightly warped. Sit tight. We'll find you. The tone was wrong, flat, repeated, exactly the same cadence. A recording. I looked toward the horizon. In the distance, figures were approaching, dark shapes against the white. 5 of them moving in formation, roped together. A rescue team. I wanted to shout, wave, anything. But as they came closer, my stomach dropped. Their movements were wrong, too slow, too synchronized, as if pulled by the same invisible hand. They stopped at the edge of the camp, half shrouded by the glare. For a moment I thought I recognized the leader's gait, broad shoulders, heavy steps. It was Harker. He looked up. His goggles gleamed black. I couldn't see his face, but I knew what would be pressed against the inside of those lenses. I backed into my tent and zipped it closed. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Outside, footsteps circled slowly, deliberate, brushing snow against the nylon. Then, one by one, the other tents unzipped. I didn't look. I didn't need to. The air changed, pressure dropping, cold rising, the silver liner of my tent rippled. Faces swam across it like reflections on water. Lena, Cole, Tenzin, Harker, all of them whispering the same thing, "Join us." I covered my ears, but the voices came from inside my head now, calm and patient. "You've been here since the start," they said. "You just didn't remember." I bit down on my glove to keep from screaming. Something pressed from outside, a handprint forming through the fabric. The fingers spread wide, then another beside it, and another. The tent began to collapse inward. I crawled backward until my spine hit the gear wall. Breath came fast and shallow. The air tasted of metal and ice. Then suddenly everything went still. Silence. White, weightless. The tent was gone. I was standing, though I didn't remember getting up. The world around me was featureless, endless, a white so pure it had no edges. My breath vanished before it could fog the air. "Maya." The voice came from behind, soft, familiar. I turned. Lena stood there, no frost on her face, no oxygen mask, no fear. She smiled like someone waking from a long sleep. Behind her, Cole and Tenzin appeared, shapes resolving out of the light. Harker stepped forward last, calm and unburdened. "You did well," he said. "It's quieter now." "What is this?" I whispered. "Am I dead?" He smiled. "You're home." They turned together, faces serene, and walked into the white. Their bodies dissolved, becoming part of it, until only their shadows remained, and even those faded. I stood alone, the cold slipping through me like air. Somewhere in the distance, a radio clicked. "Bravo 3, do you copy? We're reading strong signal at your coordinates." A new voice, human, real. "We see your camp," it said. "Everything's intact, stove still warm, no sign of crew." I wanted to scream, to tell them to turn back, but my mouth wouldn't open. My lips were sealed, frozen into a faint smile. Wind stirred for the first time in hours. The snow shifted, revealing a glint of metal at my feet. My goggles. The lenses were black now, mirror dark. I picked them up with numb hands. A face stared back from inside the glass. Not mine, me. Pressed tight, lips parted in a silent breath. The white around me folded in on itself, soft and absolute. The air hummed once like a sigh, and then there was nothing left but the silence. The mountain has gone quiet again. The wind covers what it keeps, and the snow hides every name it's taken. You've just heard White Silence, a 5-part sleep horror story about the cost of looking too long into the cold. If this story kept you awake, or if it helped you drift into a darker kind of peace, remember to subscribe for more tales like this one. Every week we explore another forgotten corner of fear, where silence has a sound and warmth always comes too late. Thank you for listening. And whatever you do, don't look at your reflection.